All WordPress sites have at least one administrator account, and that is the account used to change configuration settings on the site, change the settings on the site, and have access to absolutely all the content on the site. That means anyone who wants to gain access to your site for malicious purposes would try to log in using one of these administrator accounts. As a result, it's important that you have good usernames and really strong passwords, especially on your administrator accounts, so that it's hard for computers and real people to get in. When you create a username for your administrator account, or for any other account for that matter on your site, it's important to avoid a couple of different usernames, and there are historical reasons for this. The most important username to avoid at all costs is admin. This is because, historically, WordPress shipped with a default admin account with the username admin. As a result, every single computer on the web that tries to hack a WordPress site will start out by using the name admin, and then do a brute force attack on the passwords, basically just randomly choosing different passwords and see if they can get in. This means if you don't use admin as an account name, you already have a more secure site. And this is also why admin is no longer a default username for WordPress. While you're at it, there are a couple of other names you should avoid. They include administrator, user, test, and the site name. And you'll notice all of these names have something in common. They're not really usernames, are they? They're just like default, boring names that you would put in if you don't think about anything else. And the answer to the question, what is a good username, is anything other than these 5. You can use your own name, you can use an email address, you can pretty much use anything except these really nondescript names that don't mean anything. So avoiding someone gaining access to your site through a brute force attack pretty much just means not using any of these 5 names. Now, of course, the real security feature of the login screen is the password. And people often ask me, how can they make good passwords they can remember? Because everyone has seen all these requirements. You have to make a password that has 6 different keys and upper and lowercase letters and 2 spaces and at least 2 numbers and preferably some language you don't know. Well, the reality is, the longer a password is, the better that password is. So instead of trying to make some cryptic password that's impossible to remember, try to consider making really long passwords instead, maybe full sentences, or just passwords that spell out something. Because the more keys you add to the passwords, the harder it gets for a computer to try to guess at all those keys. So if you have an 8-key password, it's far less secure than if you had a 16-key password, even if the 16-key password is just regular words, whereas the 8-key one was all random letters and numbers, because a computer doesn't see a difference between a word and just a random number of letters. So personally, what I do is I make relatively long passwords, and then I'll do things like swap out O's with zeros or I's with ones and things like that to make it a little more cryptic. Even so, I still have passwords that are real sentences that you can actually say out loud and that are easy to remember. So create usernames that make sense and long passwords, and you're well on your way to creating a more secure WordPress site.